Hello everyone, you're welcome to this week's Tech Tuesdays webinar on frequently asked questions by Axon, EDC, IDQ, and DPM customers. I'm Brinda, your host for today's webinar. Joining with us today is Steve Fleischman, Senior Data Governance Consultant from the Informatica Professional Services team as a presenter for today's webinar. Before we start this webinar, here are some housekeeping tips. This webinar is for 1 hour, including the 15 minutes Q&A. You can post your queries in the Q&A box. Dial-in participants are muted for this webinar. The session is being recorded and will be available in the Informatica Support YouTube channel and the Success portal. The recording will be emailed to you as well. You can put in your feedbacks and suggestions for the session in the post-webinar survey. The Tech Tuesdays webinar program is hosted within the Success portal. The Informatica Success portal is a microlearning platform offering free and unlimited learning to all registered users. This feature-rich platform was launched to help you learn and use Informatica products better. A newly launched data governance learning path in the Success portal will enable you to implement data-centric approach to compliance based on your role. Here are a few important links that you can go over later. Over to you, Steve. Thank you.
Welcome, everyone, to today's discussion on frequently asked questions related to Informatica's data governance and privacy products. My name is Stephen Fleischman, and I'll be co-presenting today with my colleague, Sumit Saraswat. Across our professional services practice, we've worked with hundreds of organizations in various phases of their data governance and privacy journeys. We asked our consultants to list the questions they're most frequently hearing from our customers so that we could deliver a webinar to address them. We identified and prioritized a group of topics related to integration, CLAIRE, functionality between the products, and terminology that's oftentimes challenging to thoroughly understand. Knowing how things are designed to work will help you leverage the full capabilities that the solution has to offer, providing the greatest value to your end user, your customers. So with that in mind, we created this presentation in a manner that should make these core concepts easier to understand through visuals, examples, and discussions. The agenda for today is product integration, navigation, and terminology. In this area, you'll learn the data governance solution components, how the functionality is organized within and between the various products, review a high-level hardware design diagram, and then discuss how the products relate and share information. Domains an often used term in business, and the same can be said within Informatica's terminology. Let's review domains, differentiate them, and then we'll look at the various types of data domains and how they're created and applied. With CLAIRE, we'll go over what CLAIRE is, its supplemental role in data enrichment, and how it's leveraged between the product sets. We'll wrap up with profiling, what's available in EDC as compared to IDQ. While they may leverage the same underlying technologies, the product capabilities and end user data access provided within each solution differs. We'll discuss the usage of each and the use cases that apply. Finally, we'll wrap up with questions and answers. Product integration, navigation, and terminology. Informatica's data governance and privacy solution is made up of modular, integrated suite of products that incorporates a data catalog, privacy, and data quality to deliver an end-to-end governance experience. The Axon's your one-stop shop. It's an enterprise data governance platform where a business user would enter to identify high-quality data that's consistent, trusted, and protected. Axon can be integrated with EDC, data quality, and data privacy management, enabling the business and technical information to be provided in one location. Data quality enables you to proactively discover, profile, manage, monitor, and clean the data in a consistent and reusable manner, using tools provided for both technical and business users. EDC is an AI-powered catalog of your technical assets across the organization. Within EDC, the assets are enriched by both those using the catalog and supplemented with CLAIRE's abilities to give the assets meaning and relevance through metadata-driven discovery and inventorying. Data privacy management provides a solution enabling organizations to track sensitive data assets, understand and remediate risk exposure, and monitor user activity. Beyond the high-level understanding of the products, what's not always so obvious is where a given function or activity occurs. Our data governance framework creates a single set of rules and processes for collecting, storing, and using data. It enables a business to define and document shared business vocabulary and semantics, standards, norms, accountability, and ownership. This also involves establishing key quality indicators, data risk and privacy metrics, policies and processes, and data quality rules. The framework also provides for discovery of data to create a unified view of all data assets across the enterprise. This includes not only the data itself, but data relationships and lineage, technical and enterprise metadata, data profiling, data certification, classification, and collaboration. The framework supports the execution of data governance by defining the essential process components, data quality management, catalog, creating reference data, protecting data privacy, and enforcing and monitoring data policies, and provisioning and delivering data. Finally, it tracks processes, data quality, and data proliferation, monitors data privacy and risk exposure, alerting you to anomalies, creating an audit trail, and facilitating issue management and workflows. The business then uses the data governance framework to measure and monitor the results to optimize for trust, privacy, and protection. In order to understand how the software is deployed, let's go over a simplified architecture diagram. Now, please note that this is the simplest diagram of the 4 products being deployed, and the products can be deployed in a multitude of ways: on-premise, on AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and the number of servers may be greater than what's being displayed in this example. Axon is its own installation with its own set of microservices. Like all products, this runs independently of the other products, but as we discussed, integrates with data quality, data catalog, and privacy management by providing connection details either within the Axon application or via the Axon agent if ingesting data quality information. EDC does not require DPM. However, DPM does require EDC to be installed. They run as 2 separate products, each with their own separate use cases, but they do share the same cluster. The cluster is where the technical assets that have been ingested and enriched reside. Now, there are certain features, such as smart domains in EDC, that aren't available to be created in data privacy management. And likewise, DPM has a concept of always sensitive, never sensitive, to define rules to apply to specific column sensitivity, and this is not available in EDC. So which one to leverage when ingesting data depends upon the use case, so keep that in mind when implementing. While we know that Axon can display data quality results through the Axon agent, also be aware that EDC can consume data from data quality using a data quality resource for that. So while EDC can perform the profiling, there may be occasions where the data from data quality is requested to be brought into EDC, perhaps due to performance or to leverage previous data quality profile results. So why is the data quality installation separate? Let's take a look. While both products are on the same base platform, such as Informatica version 10.5, EDC is evolving at a rapid pace that may require additional patching and upgrades beyond what's required by data quality. Since EDC has more frequent upgrades, that alone is reason enough to separate the products. But beyond that, even if they were to run together, they provide different capabilities. EDC is typically run against larger data sets, such as at a schema level, whereas DQ may be at a more granular table level, even just profiling and focusing on specific fields. They also handle differing data volumes, workloads, and really are meant for different use cases. Sumit will go into detail on the differences in an upcoming section of this presentation. To this point, we have covered the products that make up Informatica Data Governance, what capabilities they offer, and an example of its implementation from a hardware perspective. How do they work together, and what information is shared between each product? Axon integrates with several Informatica products to support various data governance scenarios. Axon integrates with EDC to automate processes to acquire data assets through scanning and discovery. It assesses their criticality to the business and onboards them into Axon so they can be brought under governance. IDQ is integrated with Axon to automate the measurement of local data quality rules, which can be measured directly against the physical store corresponding to the Axon system and data set through IDQ rule-based profiling and scorecarding. And data privacy management integration, it measures the state of data protection and risk for sensitive data types like personally identifiable information. And it reports it back to the Axon stakeholder for the data system that houses that information and for the policies that determine the organization's data protection policy framework. It should be noted that Axon should not be used to inventory every piece of data simply because it's been discovered. Axon should be populated with more consideration in line with what the business says that they need to run key day-to-day activities. So that, of course, means that Axon will have less content than EDC. And as a general guideline, Axon will contain about 10% of the content found in EDC. Of course, this is just a broad generalization and will differ per use case. After seeing what information is exchanged at a high level, let's now look at the relationship between solutions using the terminology associated with each product. Starting from the top, we can see the set of commonly used facets within Axon, including the glossary, which contains a business terms, terminology of these key data elements. Axon integrates with EDC and DPM through configuring an Axon resource within EDC or DPM, as both have the capability to create resources. This resource will enable the extraction of Axon, the business glossary information for processing within EDC and DPM. Data domains, which are discussed next, are a critical component to enable the automated and stewarded integration between EDC and Axon. Next, you'll see that an EDC resource is analogous to an Axon system. And as a general rule, each resource will be linked to one system, though a system can be related to multiple resources. A resource in EDC is equal to a data store in DPM. Data quality results are ingested and applied to the applicable attributes using data quality integration. Axon datasets are logical structures that can either relate to one table or file or multiple tables within a resource. Think of it as a view, and the attributes are equivalent to columns or fields. Data classifications are similar to data domain groups, but offer much more capabilities, such as a condition builder to determine what is necessary and sufficient to meet a policy, sensitivity level, and cost per each impression. And these classifications are associated to a policy within Axon. The next topic we will cover are domains and data domain types. The term domain is used a lot, and it causes a lot of confusion, especially if you're new to these products. From an Informatica platform perspective, the Informatica domain is a primary unit for the management and administration of services. In Axon, a domain is part of what's called a glossary type. And this glossary type shows the divisions and subdivisions that help design a structure. Domains are separate subject areas that typically don't have a parent. Then there's subdomains, terms, and metrics to identify other glossary types. Data domains are ways to discover and organize the information ingested into EDC or DPM. For example, social security number, email, city, phone number. They can all be individual data domains. A data domain helps you to discover and organize important information from all sources. In EDC, there are two categories of data domains: rule-based, which could be based on the metadata or the data itself, or both. And rule-based data domains can be developed, and there are also 125 or more that are included with the products that are pre-built. And the other category are smart domains, which we'll discuss in a moment. But let's consider a few examples where rule-based data domains can work well. Regular expression-based data domains determine if the metadata or data follows a pattern, and it's best suited to discover social security number or credit cards, things which follow some rules which can be easily identified by a regular expression. If there's a finite set of data and typically non-overlapping, then it can be validated against a reference table. For example, identification of country ISO codes. There's a finite set of countries and a finite set of codes, and usually not overlapping. Same with the identification of a currency code. As above, they'll be finite and usually non-overlapping. But if any of your columns' data semantics are so different from the previously mentioned examples, and you want to build a custom transformation-based logic to discover these respective columns that match, then maplet rules are the best option to go with. And we can create rules using Informatica Developer Tool and Analyst to handle more complex logic. Smart data domains don't have any rule. It's also called an example-based data domain. This is more like a user tagging a column by observing various factors like the name of the column and the profiling statistics like pattern or min or max values. This method of tagging can be very helpful because the user just has to associate one column with a data domain, and that data domain is propagated to its similar columns. The next section describes in detail about similar columns, column similarity. Composite data domain it's a collection of data domains or other composite data domains that's linked using rules. And it helps you to search for the required details of an entity across multiple schemas defined for a database. What's an entity? An entity refers to a particular subject for which you need all the associated information. For example, for an entity such as a customer, you might want to search for the associated details like the customer's first and last name and the full address. Well, these details might be spread across multiple tables and columns in a database. So the composite data domains help you to define a search query to include those entity details that you want to find from multiple schemas. The data domain group is a collection of data domains that allows you to categorize data domains into specific groups. It's really helpful when organizing data domains for scanning rather than going in and selecting a group of individual data domains. The process to create each of the data domains we've discussed can be found in this flowchart. It can range from the simple use of predefined data domains with no additional development through to the usage of Informatica Developer or Analyst to create, validate, and generate rules. I mentioned predefined data domains in the previous slides. Some domains may produce false positives due to the more generic nature of the underlying data sets and should be used with caution as they may lead to increased false positives. And they're listed here. If possible, don't run against all data domains. And that way you can reduce the time taken as well as reduce false positives. If you decide to update any of the rules or conformance within a particular out-of-the-box data domain, we recommend not to touch the original. And if you want to update it, to create a duplicate or create a clone version of it and update that. The reason is that any changes done to out-of-the-box data domains would be overridden when the product is upgraded to newer releases in the future. Also, if creating custom rule-based data domains, you can use the existing out-of-the-box rules. They may contain some expressions and maplets for getting an understanding of how they're created. I'll now pass this to Sumit for the next topic, Claire.
Thank you, Stephen. This part of the presentation is all about the AI ML capabilities, what we call as CLAIRE in EDC. So let's look at some of the capabilities that CLAIRE provides. CLAIRE stands for Cloud Scale AI-powered real-time engine. That's the full form of CLAIRE. There's AI in the middle, so it all worked out good from a nomenclature perspective. What CLAIRE does is it's the backbone of all the underlying DG as well as data engineering product capabilities that Informatica provides. It identifies all the data and metadata and provides a significant boost to the underlying capabilities of tagging and finding similar data assets. The only way you can discover this kind of velocity and diversity of data is to increase some kind of some automation capabilities of the tool, and that's what CLAIRE does. Doing it manually over a period of time repeatedly is going to be very time consuming as well as very error prone. We want it to be done in automated fashion with a pinpoint accuracy that machines provide. And that's where the artificial intelligence and machine learning is all coming together. The human beings are enhancing the information that the machine is using to learn, and then look at the patterns and do that automation going forward. The kind of enrichments that we do on EDC are, broadly classified into these 4 different brackets. One is the custom attributes, business terminology that you get from Axon, and then tag it to the technical assets. The data domain curation, which is nothing but a semantic meaning or the semantic search of the information, and the relationship discovery. That's again lineage or finding what personas are invested in what form with the catalog. In this 4 broad categories, the 2 categories where this automation using CLAIRE plays an important role are the business terms curation and the data domain curation. So these 2 branches that you see, the intelligent glossy association is a method by which when you scan the actual resource, it also uses the information that EDC has ingested from Axon, look at this business terminology and tries to marry it as it scans the technical assets to the technical information that it's scanning. The other thing that CLAIRE does is the propagation of curated semantic tags. So for example, if I say SSN is a semantic tag that is associated with the data, with the data asset, CLAIRE will try to find the matching information with other data assets and try to tag it or propagate it. So these are the two important facets of where EDC plays an important role in this automation journey. The smart data domains are a category of data domains which are tagged automatically by the tool. So there is a rule-based data domain, which is having an underlying rule. There is no machine learning capabilities invested there. In a rule-based data domain, you already have a predefined rule. Your data is checked or metadata is checked against that rule. And if it satisfies that criteria, the tag is associated with that particular data asset. In a smart data domain, on the other hand, you give the feedback, or a human being or a data steward gives a feedback through EDC to the tool, and the tool learns from it through the machine learning capability that it has, and then uses that to enrich the information. So example, here you see an example of a phone number is in this format, 65038555000. It is a 10-digit number, and a human being will curate it as a phone number or tag it as a phone number, and EDC through this clear capability will look at this pattern in all of the data assets and try to propagate this information in all these data assets. So it will try to put this phone number tag in all of the data assets. We'll look at some examples of that in a few minutes in the next slides. In the previous section, we talked about what CLEAR brings to the table in terms of the catalog journey that EDC provides. In this section, we will talk about at a deeper level how CLEAR helps, in what aspects of the catalog journey does CLEAR helps. The very first one is column similarity. This is a very powerful concept using the underlying machine learning capabilities. In this case, EDC looks at the columns that are similar in nature. And when I say similar in nature, it looks at data characteristics or value frequencies of the data. So you need to have permissions to collect that information. It stores that information in an encrypted format in EDC. But what catalog is doing in this case is AI/ML capabilities in catalog are doing in this case is identifying the information that it has collected, trying to find if there is any other similar information, any similar assets that have a similar pattern in the catalog, and tries to propagate that information, or tries to find if there is a similar asset that has a similar pattern somewhere in the catalog. So what it is doing, it's this usage you're trying to find duplicates that you're not aware of. We have customers who have used this capability for their cloud migration journey, for example, where they want to find out if there are any duplicates in their data assets, and they want to only take the golden copy of it, or the copy that has most relevant information, rather than taking all these duplicates that have been gathered over a period of years. So that's one of the use cases. You also want to find out if there are similar assets, for your consumption layer. So, for example, you're a data scientist, you're trying to find information in catalog, and you want to get some data assets that have good phone numbers for marketing, and you find that there are other assets that have similar phone number information, but they may have more information that you thought is available, or more cleaner information in a particular data asset. So that's what this is allowing us to do. It's automating this information search or discovery for us by doing that, giving that feedback of where the phone numbers are, where my assistants are, and it's doing that. It's finding the other information that's relevant to you. The propagation of tags is just an extension of what we just talked about. So you are putting some kind of a semantic tag on assets, and through AI/ML capabilities that EDC has, it's propagating that information to other similar assets, recommending data set to users, as we talked about, from a data science or data prep preparation, use cases. If you want to look at other information or other assets that have the same information, it allows us to discover that. Business term association through propagation. So this is just one other subcategory of this propagation of information through AI/ML. So what we are doing is we are taking through the intelligent discovery process that CLEAR provides us, we are able to tag information or business terms to our technical assets. And not only that, it also looks at what has been discovered for a different asset. Through the AI/ML capabilities, it looks at similar data assets in EDC and tries to propagate that business term to that similar asset. For example, if I have a column 1, I have tagged SSN to that column, and I find that there is another column called column 2 that also has SSN. Because I've already tagged SSN, or it has been tagged by EDC through its intelligent discovery process, it will propagate that information or that tag or the business terminology called SSN to column 2. So now we have we have a wider net. If we type SSN through our discovery portal, we will get 2 hits, column 1 and column 2, and it happened automatically because because of the identification that AI/ML could provide through this, similar column capability, similar asset capability, it was able to tag the same information to a different asset. That's how at a high level, how the business, the business term association to propagation works. If you look at what it is doing, there is something known as sequence alignment or read only edit distances. So what it is doing is it's looking for the names of your business terms, right, that match your technical asset names, and it's looking for how many substitutions Clear has to do to make that name match. So in this case, if you look at the example that's on our screen, you have health program consultation as the business term title, and the asset name has some information. It doesn't have these alphabets that are in red in this particular asset name, but since it's having only, it only needs to replace these few alphabets to make this match happen. That's how, that's how this algorithm, works underneath. To summarize, this is using a kind of similar names with your assets and business terms, but it doesn't need to be matching 100%. So it has some intelligent capability to deduce these names by just replacing some of the alphabets, some of the common alphabets between these two names. Synonym dictionary is a way to enhance this capability. So in the cases we don't get this kind of a hit between our asset names and business terms, we use synonym dictionary. It is nothing but a file which provides, or which is kind of a cheat sheet for EDC to make this hit much more frequent. So we'll provide some kind of a reference values to it. For example, SSN can be known as social security number, tax ID, or country identification number, something like that. So we'll provide some kind of information in this file called a synonym file, uploaded in EDC, so that these hits become much more frequent. So it's just helping the automation capabilities of EDC. And you can also provide some kind of hints during the scanning. Say, don't use the, for example, if all your table name starts with TBL, and you just want to ignore them, you can ignore them by saying, hey, don't put the prefixes, or don't look at the prefixes when looking at these matching names. So there are things that you can do to provide the hints or enhance these capabilities. In this part of the presentation, we'll discuss about the difference between profiling in IDQ and EDC. So one of the questions we often get from customers is, EDC provides the same kind of overview or profiling overview that IDQ does, or IDQ has been doing for last 20 years. It's been there in existence. So what's the difference? When should we use when? Or what should we use when? Would be the question. So we always start with the premise that EDC is more geared towards broad profiling. So with EDC, you should be touching all your data assets that are tangible, that you can touch, you have permissions to touch, and look at the information that resides there. So it's kind of a it's kind of a telephone directory of your enterprise with all the numbers that you can dial, right? So it's all about having the information at your fingertips to discover. So this is an overview of how profiling results for a table in EDC looks like. So you will have a basic profiling that you will see here. That will show us how many nulls are there, how many distinct values are there, how many non-distinct values are there, in all in a color-coded bar chart. But if you drill on a specific column in EDC, it'll also list out information like value frequencies in case you have enabled that. You will see the column similarity, the things that we talked about during the AI/ML piece of this presentation. You will have a basic data profile for each of these columns when you go into the details of these columns in the pattern distribution. So this is very similar to what IDQ does, probably in a very different, a little bit nuanced UI, because it's a newer tool than IDQ. That's the only difference, that you will see. But EDC is for broad profiling. So again, we are stressing on that. It's broad profiling. You don't have a choice to pick and choose columns that you want to profile. Once you select a table, once you select a file, you have to profile the whole thing. You cannot filter on a specific column, or you cannot just tell the tool to profile only a certain aspect of the information. You have to profile everything. So it's broad profiling with minimal data set that you want to finish in time, right? The deep profiling piece comes in IDQ. So once you have found out some issues, some data quality issues, or some things that you want to keep a tab on your assets, that's when IDQ comes into picture. So you want to look at the information or profiling information from a quality viewpoint. That's when IDQ comes into picture. It also has other things that EDC doesn't have, because EDC is a governance tool, is a catalog tool. It's not for data quality purposes specifically. It does cater to data quality pieces of your business requirements, but it is not a data quality tool. So you don't have the exception management. You don't have the reusable rules and accelerators that IDQ provides, and all this information you can use, or you can feed into the profiles of IDQ as well, right? So in IDQ, you select specific columns. You never go and select all columns. Nothing is forbidden, nothing is prohibited, but the idea is to look at specific columns that you want to profile on, that you want to look for from a quality perspective. And then this is how it looks like in Analyst. Very almost same look and feel as EDC, but with a different, from a different viewpoint, right? So you will not see, for example, the columns and rules in EDC, because the rules are not integrated in EDC. It's not meant for quality, as we stressed on. And you also have a different way of looking at the data preview, because this is meant for, from a quality perspective. So the view is a little different, and this view has been in existence for a long time now. So you can drill down on specific pieces of the data assets. It does have the same kind of bar chart that you have in EDC. You also have different view of how nulls and unique and non-unique values are shown here. The reason they are shown a little, they are stressed upon here is because this is where you mean to look at it from a quality perspective, or look at these values from a quality perspective. Not only that, but you can also compare profiles. So you can put multiple profiles, you can compare them, you can feed the data rules that you have created, you can put that into picture in your profile. All that can be done only in IDQ, cannot be done in EDC. So you can take this information. There is an integration that's available between EDC and IDQ. You can scan IDQ results once you have done everything in IDQ. It's all available in EDC as well. So if your objective is to have the IDQ results available in the discovery portal for EDC for customers or your users, so that they don't have to jump back and forth between these two tools, you can always do the quality aspects of your dashboards or your scorecards or your profiles in IDQ, and then integrate it in EDC. So that's possible. The other thing that we haven't talked about is maybe we might miss. There's a way to put a kind of a view on profiles to check that view for anomalies or triggers that you are interested in. For example, if your quality goes down for a specific asset, you want it to trigger the tool to trigger an email to you or your users or stakeholders to let them know. So it's more about watching this information. The tool is watching this information from a quality eye. EDC doesn't do that. EDC notifies you only when there is a change in the curation aspects of the governance information. IDQ is more about if there's a change in the information, underlying data information, and you want it to be, available for bigger consumption from a quality point. So that's where DQ comes into play. Here are some of the resources that you can go to for different aspects of all the information that we have talked about, that Stephen talked about, that I talked about. There's some very good information in the kb.informatica.com. I would strongly encourage you to go there and look for all the KB articles that are specific to the tools. docs.informatica.com is where all our collateral for all the for our products are kept. There are very nice sections, sectional views that you can go to and discover this information. But this is some curated information that you may want to look at that a lot of customers do ask us about. Happy reading, and thanks for your time.
Hello everyone. If you have any queries, please post your queries in the Q&A box. We will try and answer them. Hey Steve, would you like to call out any of the questions that are already been answered in the Q&A?
Well, so sure. One of the questions was asking about when updating a copy of a data domain or creating a copy of creating a data domain. Do you recommend copying it to a new folder if you're making a copy, or create something within the content folder? So let's say you take an existing and you want to modify it. While either could be done, the recommendation would be to move it to a new folder, to differentiate it from those which were provided as out of the box, which is a template. Also, I wouldn't want to have any new developed work in a folder that contains objects which could be updated during an upgrade, or if uploading new out of the box content. I would answer that. But we do see some other one coming in here.
There is a question regarding the cloud migration. I mean, how customers have used the similarity discovery during cloud migration. So this is just one-off example. It was not primarily designed. Similarity discovery was not only designed for this, but a lot of customers have benefited from this feature because there's a lot of cloud migration that's happening. Well, it has really picked up pace in recent months. And what customers are using the similarity discovery feature for, they scan their on-prem data assets, and they find out through that similarity discovery that they may have assets hiding somewhere else in some other schemas or some other data stores that they were not aware of. Were having the same information. So now is the time to merge that information, or just take one copy or a good copy of that in cloud, because cloud storage, although cheap, is you still want to make sure that you use optimal use of your resources there. That's what the example that we talked about.
Sure. So another question would be, oh, go ahead, please. Oh, So another question would be, could you provide more detailed information on how to bring an IDQ profile results into EDC to display in EDC? I can tell you that there is quite a bit of documentation on that process on how to bring the quality results in. But at a high level, you do create a resource that will when you run the resource, it's going to extract the scanner would extract and migrate the profile results in the associated whatever profiling warehouse it's pointing to the catalog, and it brings whatever results you have: column profile results, data domain discovery, rule profiling results, and scorecards, value frequencies. So you can migrate those results from a current or even an earlier version. There is, again, a full set of documentation online specific to that details what is extracted and how that process works. But the key to remember to me is that, again, you have whatever you have ingested in EDC. Let's say it's an Oracle resource. Whatever you profile in IDQ also has to be that same Oracle resource. It can't be Oracle in EDC and S3 in, in IDQ. The two must match in terms of type of resource.
There's a question around, replacement of cryptic system terms with semantic business terms. Is it easy to export semantic column names and re-ingest into EDW? So this question, is regarding the business terms, export and import to EDW, but it's applicable for anything that they're in EDC. So EDC is a one-way traffic. We are just cataloging all the information from your ecosystem. But what if you want to take that information out to somewhere else, right? For your own documentation somewhere else, or you want to re-ingest that information to your EDW in this example, because you have done some curation in EDC and you want to really use that information in downstream applications or upstream applications. There is a way to extract this information through REST API, and you can import it anyways you imported your information in your EDW, whatever the EDW is, right? So there is no way to do that out of the box in the tool, is what I'm trying to say. Summary is that there are workarounds. You can take that information out through REST API, whatever you have cataloged, in whatever shape and form, and then you can use that information that's in a file somewhere to import it back to wherever you want to import it. So there is another question around DQ index feature in IDQ. I'm not sure, about the DQ index, but if the question is around the weightage that you assign in the scorecards, it is definitely configurable. Now that configuration of the weightage that you assign in the scorecard, if that's the question, has to be done in IDQ. So as I said, EDC is going to ingest that information, but your system of records are in DQ, where you assign this weightage. That weightage is what you see in EDC and Discovery Portal. So you'll have to do that in EDQ, and that's configurable.
And then, so that Axon system data set attributes are pushed through EDC through Axon when scanning. What's the purpose of having those Axon facets in EDC? I mean, it's informational. It's just more information for an end user. I really don't have another value other than, again, it's just further enrichment, ways to enhance what the information you have within EDC. I don't know if you have more to add on that, Sumit, but that's.
So the only thing that goes to EDC is the glossary, right? In EDC, that's what you consume through Axon. What is the purpose of having those other Axon facets data in EDC? So there's nothing else that goes to EDC. The only thing that goes is the glossaries, and these glossaries are the bridge through which the information will flow back to Axon in case of automated onboarding in Axon. So there's a feature called automated onboarding, through which you can get, you can enrich Axon facets by getting the discovery that by using the discovery that EDC does through the scan. If there are new columns that are discovered, new tables that are discovered, through this glossary attachment or glossary tagging in EDC, that information is given back to Axon. That's known as automated onboarding. But if the question was what flows from Axon to EDC, it's just the glossary. Question is, if we assign a glossary name to linked EDC physical field, will that sync back to EDC as a business title after a business term association scan or Axon resource scan? Yeah, if you are assigning a glossary name to a EDC physical field, it's definitely going on the business title section, right? That's where you're assigning it. So when you do that assignment, it's by default going in that section, if that was the question.
Because again, just to be clear, right? So that's almost like it's like a manual link. It's not like it's a manual link what you're doing. Whereas if we run that business term association job, right, that's leveraging more of CLAIRE, of using that information that was provided to bring those physical and technical and business assets together.
Yes. So yeah, if the question was whether if we do that intelligent glossary association, will that also go as a business title? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Yeah. Might have misread that question.
History of DQ index. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So the DQ, is doing two things, right? Profiling, and then you are putting scorecards on top of profiles, which is nothing but keeping a tab of your profiles, looking at what information is changing, if the quality is going worse or is it getting better. Now the profile rules are not incrementally stored there, so you don't score. You cannot. You're not able to compare various iterations of what profiles you have done, but because scorecard keeps an eye of your profiles and it's looking at whether the information has gone worse or has gone better, it has some history. So yeah, there is a trend chart that you can see. There is a trend chart that will show us, whether how the quality improved or bad. That can be exported as a spreadsheet or any other file format and send it to your source systems as a living proof that this has happened. Quality was great till so and so date, and now it has gone back. So it has various milestones with dates assigned to it and talking about how the quality score is.
Thank you, Sumit and Steve. Let's wait for some more time. If anyone has any question, please post them in the Q&A box. We have some more time.
So we have one more question. Is there a different integration if you need DQ big data quality product? No, there is not. So big data quality or the DQ is the same platform as IDQ. The licensing just allows you to do some more, pushed on capabilities on the big data ecosystem. So yeah, there's from integration point of view, it's the exact same integration.
How do custom adapters work in EDC if out-of-the-box connectors are not available? Well, so if we don't have out-of-the-box connectors, depending upon what type of resource it is, it might be something that's able to be accessed by JDBC or some other method like that. If that is not possible, and we certainly have cases like that, then you would create what's called a custom resource. And a custom resource is where you define the structure of whatever it is that you're looking to ingest. And we also with custom resources, there's also custom lineage. So whether it's a custom or an existing resource, you can create lineage from object to object. So you can do it for example, at the schema level, you could create that lineage, or at the table level, or at the field level. The way to do this is, again, I keep pointing back to it, but it is available via documentation. But the way that this is implemented is by using CSV or Excel files. Right, it's a manual process.
The question is around MS Power BI scanning with EDC. I think there is a out-of-the-box scanner for that. I'll have to look at the scanner list, but I think there is a box scanner for that. There's another question for EDC, Axon, and IDQ can be implemented separately. What's the best practice? Yeah, so EDC, Axon are definitely different tools, different use cases for the same objective, but different use cases. IDQ and EDC are very similar in nature in the sense that they use the same kind of software platform, but we still want to keep them separate because IDQ, as we talked about, is more geared towards quality aspects, and EDC is more towards governance aspects. They do work together. They have integration, but there is you can combine them in one what we call as Informatica domain, but we tend to keep them separate for different because of the different release cycles, different patching that's done on these tools. Looks like resource level lineage is not possible in EDC. Yeah, so there is no lineage that happens on the resource level. Is that the question? Yeah, sorry, Stephen.
Oh no, that was it. You're right. It just is not at the resource level in EDC, right? At this time, I see. Are there plans to add that feature? That I would have to get information on, but I'm not sure if there are plans or where, if in the plans there would be in the roadmap.
And I think there's a clarification on the question that was asked earlier, whether any glossy names that are assigned in Axon, they flow to EDC. Yeah, so there is the only thing that flows is the glossary names. The association doesn't flow to EDC. That association is coming from EDC. So in case you associate any attributes on EDC side, that will be picked up to the automated onboarding feature and Axon picks it up, but not the other way around. So there is some future roadmap question.
Yeah, I just do we have drill down feature in EDC? No, the drill down capability is in IDQ. This is Power BI. Oh, go ahead with the Power BI you were saying.
So I think there is an out-of-the-box scanner, looks like. And yeah, if there's an out-of-the-box scanner, we will have to create a custom scanner or a custom resource that Stephen was talking about just minutes back. We do have some, some usable artifacts for other custom scanners that we have done. So if you search around, you'll find a lot of examples that you can use to build your own.
The business titles have been assigned in EDC. Attributes are created in Axon through onboarding. Okay, so now I have change requests in Axon to change the related glossary object. This now means that the attributes linked to the physical fields no longer match a business title. The attributes linked to the physical field no longer match a business title. Okay, will there be any more integration to address this? I mean, certainly, I could say that the integrations between Axon and EDC improve version to version, but yeah, I guess I'm trying to understand attributes linked to the physical field no longer match. So you'd have to quick answer for that one. I don't know, Sumit, if you know. I'm trying to think of something.
No,
it would take a little bit more thought.
We'll have to find out if there is any.
Right. As far as the community or Axon,
we have 1 more minute. Yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, community or Axon EDC where questions can be asked. I mean, certainly on our support site, questions can be asked there. There's individual areas related to whatever product you're using where questions can be can be posted. But no user groups or anything like that that I'm aware of, or, point to.
So we are almost on top of the hour. So we might have to wind up this webinar. Looks like we have a few questions pending to be answered. We will definitely get back to you after this session. Thank you, Steve and Sumit, for setting aside some time for this session. It was wonderful. Thanks everyone for joining. Hope everyone is staying safe. See you on our next Tech Tuesdays. Bye.